500K deals, 700K deals. We've done buy and holds. We've done major value add projects. And as of recently, we've kind of shifted to luxury and multifamily to kind of hedge against a little bit of a plateau. I haven't really seen a big market shift though, other than that. So that's kind of my background story, and I love what I do, and I'm just here to share and have a great time with all of you today. So thanks for being here.
Hello everyone, my name is Raul Luna. For the ones that don't know me or were not here, founder of Properties 180. It's with my wife and I. Being in the real estate field for the past 19 years now, seeing ups and downs. Did great, lost it in 2009. Grateful for that, made me wiser, make decisions that we make today that are way different than how we did it before. Our focus is, we're redevelopers in the Bay Area, mainly from San Francisco to San Jose. And then, we've been doing buy and holds for, the longest. We have 60 doors on multiple places, and we just acquired a 56 unit building here locally with my partners that are here as well. And we're headed to, I said it earlier, 1,000 units was the goal. Now it's 10,000. It's making the 1,000 make very, very small. We're evaluating some bigger complexes, and it's not to brag about it. It's just that when just like my daughter said on one of the texts that she sent, when you define your purpose, when you define your why, and you're willing to enjoy the process and not wait to be happy until you achieve it, is like I'm grateful and happy now as much as I'm gonna be whenever we hit it. So just understanding that, very, very happy to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure that Mr. J invited me, to be able to share, what we do. It's nothing more than what we do, and love it. We'll do it for in my case, I'll do it forever. I go crazy when I'm on idle. I go nuts when I'm in idle mode.
Hi, so Jason Boozy, also Bay Area investor since 2005. Never really did a ton of volume. My focus has always been more on doing big deals, big dollar amounts. I think when I first did a deal that I made 500K on, I literally knew nobody else that had done that. Now there's several panelists here that have done that, and probably quite a few other people in the room that have done that, so it's not as unusual anymore. But that was sort of my claim to fame at the time, and then I started looking around and seeing how are other people doing big deals, and looks like I'm not having a conference next month like I planned to, but I did have one last year, and it was very interesting to see how people are making $500,000 or more on a deal in different markets like the Bay Area and all different markets around the country doing different strategies. Done some new construction, partnered on that. Probably didn't go in as aggressively on that as I should have. Was always kind of intimidated by the large numbers, so I did it with partners and family members. And, we made $2 million on one house. In one case, we made $1 million on several houses, multiple times building. In hindsight, like I said, I think there's still opportunity, but it would have been a great time to do more of those from 2011 to about 2015. I think there's still opportunity though, a lot with development. It doesn't get talked about enough. People around here that within like 2 miles of where we're sitting right now made $1.5 million just entitling a piece of land. Other people that a few miles from here made $600,000 in a day, double closing on a development property to developer. On the other side of the bay, people building luxury homes and making $1 million plus each. So I think that's a niche that we don't talk about enough. I'd be happy to share some thoughts on that. But primarily, like I think most people, I'm doing fix and flip type deals these days, and some buy and holds, and a little bit of wholesaling. Although that's how I started, I don't do it as much anymore.
Hi, my name is Elisa Covington. I'm very new here compared to my fellow panelists. I started doing flipping in 2017. I was working a full-time job while flip two homes. And whole year in 2017, I was contemplating quitting my job, but couldn't pull the trigger. And luckily, at the end of the year, I was laid off by my company. It was almost one of the best things ever happened to me. And in 2018, I was able to finally focus on what I'm passionate about, real estate investing and flipping houses. I really enjoy doing what I do. I feel so motivated every day. I did 8 projects in 2018, and it's not the best time of the market, as you guys have all probably heard or noticed. But I made a lot of mistakes throughout the year, learned so much. I think I'm able to better position myself in this new year to do more and to do better. I currently have 4 projects, mostly in San Jose, and just got 1 deal in Cupertino. So I'm very excited to be here to learn from my fellow panelists, and hopefully I can provide some value to any new and aspiring investors. Thank you.
All right, so we've got a diverse panel here. The one thing they have in common is everybody's crushing it. And they've got some strategies and tactics that may overlap, but there are definitely some differences. And, you know, one thing I always like hearing about, and it all kind of starts with this, right, is the makings of, you know, a $500,000 deal, or the makings of someone who's getting $500,000 a year with just doing a handful or a couple deals a year is, you know, the acquisition. You've got to get something that kind of sets the stage. It's hard to buy wrong or have a bad deal or have a good deal turn good if it started out bad, right? So what, just going down the line, if you were to pick, say, just one strategy you're using for lead generation that is most consistently getting you the kinds of leads that best set the table for you to launch a really good deal that pays off really well, like where are your best deals coming from?
For me, it'd have to be, I speak at a lot of real estate companies, and so I really depend on agents. And currently our 3 off-market deals all came from agents. Yeah, off-market. And then big belief that I have is when you buy a house, you make money. So, you know, we always go into buying a home and make money right from the acquisition, and then we can value add or do whatever it is to it. But that's primarily my source. Our source is through real estate agents, and then incentivizing them by giving them back the listing.
Excuse me, for me, it's been off-market deals, the ones that I know that has the most, you know, the most upside. Mainly, we've been able to strike from direct mail. Last year, I think we, you know, not for the 500K yet on direct mail. It's for the 500K plus has been with agents, but it has been with repositioning some assets. So it's been like either buying a 4-unit building that was you know, a duplex each, and then splitting the land, you know, made over $568,000 on that. 6-unit building in San Francisco that we got going on, that should do maybe 1.8 million. But it's been through agents so far.
It's interesting because I find it encouraging, actually, to hear that your best deals have come through agents. Because for me, it's just like I can think back the last 3 or 4 years and I think, you know, my best agent deal is not much better than my worst deal I've gotten from direct mail and just dealing directly with owners. So I like to hear that there's that kind of potential.
Well, the thing is, and keep in mind, these deals that I'm talking about are deals that, I'll give you an example. It was under contract before it was gonna fall out of contract. The agent called me and said, Raul, the deal is not going through, so it's like, there is a connection. I mean, there is some, it's not like it's open on the MLS and, everybody's now attacking at it. There is definitely a relationship component to it. Direct mail was very, very strong for us last year. It continues to be this year. Probably the highest deal that we did well, actually, no, let me take that back. My apologies. There is a $500,000 deal out of direct mail that did happen last year. But it's been more consistent from pocket, off-market deals from agents.
Sort of a combination of the two of them as well. Pocket listings and direct mail have worked for me over the years. And like you, Jeff, I have found that the best deals have come from direct mail, direct from seller. But I think Raul's talking about more value add opportunities primarily, right, from agents. Not like a straight, let me just buy it and sell it right away. But my best deals are actually the ones that I didn't rehab. My best deals were, funny enough, deals that I bought and sold right away, by and large, just getting them below market and being able to sell that same asset a week later, literally, or 2 weeks later for 400,000 more, 500,000 more. And these weren't all development deals. It was fire damage duplex in San Francisco. It was a house in San Jose. I mean, those deals don't come along every day, but they're definitely out there because we're dealing now with median prices in the Bay Area of well over $1 million. And 20-30% of that, especially if you start dealing in the higher price ones, you figure out how to make 20% off of that, and you just made $300,000-$500,000. And I think one thing that I mentioned earlier when I spoke, but for those that didn't hear it, I'll repeat. One thing that I've done that's a little bit different is really focus on specific areas and less on the situation of the homeowner. Most gurus will tell you, look for distressed properties, look for motivated sellers, which is a term that I hate in the industry, because I feel it's so overused, and I feel like it implies that somebody has to be desperate, like financially desperate, like they're going through a divorce or bankruptcy or foreclosure in order to sell you the house and for it to make sense for you. Whereas I have found that by and large, the majority of my sellers are doing just fine financially, and they're not about to go into foreclosure or bankruptcy or divorce. They've just lived in the house for 20, 30, 40 years. They're ready to move out of state, or they're ready to downsize, or they're ready to upsize, or for whatever reason, or move to an old age home, whatever reason that they're selling. But there's not a motivation there, a desperation, or even a time crunch in many cases. So I like the term reasonable seller, and if somebody's reasonable, I can do a deal with them. And I look for areas, and I get to know those areas very well. And if you're starting out and you're trying to figure out what areas to pick, I would look for areas where there's a big enough spread between what a small dump will sell for and where a really bigger, doesn't have to be brand new, but fixed up house will sell for. If there's enough of a spread, there's money to be made there for flippers, there's money to be made there by developers, and you can either become that flipper or developer, or you can sell to them or wholesale to them. You just need enough of a spread. And there's plenty of communities like that throughout the Bay Area. And if you get to know them really well, you'll know who the sellers are, you'll know who the buyers are, you'll know who the developers are, you'll know who the agents are, and you'll know the prices well enough that you don't have to run and look at comps every single time to see if the deal makes sense or not. And there's a real advantage to that. And I've made millions of dollars doing that, whereas what I kept hearing when I went to a seminar would be, look for distress, look for motivated sellers. Well, the problem is there's very few of those, relatively speaking, in the Bay Area. Like there was, I spoke at Jeff's club, Jeff's now defunct club, a couple years ago, and the Pierre who does the intro said there were 6 pre-foreclosures in Santa Clara County, which has 2 million people. And I grabbed the mic because I was speaking that night, and I said, and there's 600 newbies chasing those 6 foreclosures. And that's just the problem. So I think if you can specialize in a couple areas, and again, that doesn't mean, let's say you decide you want to specialize in Pleasanton and Walnut Creek, just for example. That doesn't mean if there's a deal in San Jose or in San Francisco, you don't do it, but you're an expert in those areas. There's a real advantage to being an expert in a couple different areas.
So I get actually all of my deals through real estate agents. I haven't done any marketing so far, and I haven't sent out a mailer in my life. I think it's great that many other investors are doing that. It's really effective, but to me, doing a lot of marketing is pretty expensive as I'm new, and by having a lot of agents, I have hundreds of agents in my network that keep bringing deals to me, and I have a pretty good deal flow so far. So I haven't had the need to send out mailers or try other marketing methods yet. And I think there are actually very good deals that you can get from agents as well. I believe if you do mailers, you may get a little better deals, higher margin deals more consistently. But if you work with agents, a lot of times if you're providing the right value to the seller, you can also get pretty good deals. Last year, I did a couple deals that netted almost $300,000, and I just sold a house where I made over $200,000 in 2.5 months from close to close. So the key is to keep your projects short so that you're not affected by the market changes as much. And there's really a lot of deals going on, and if you don't find any good deals, probably you're not looking hard enough.
True. So what about criteria, right? I mean, a lot of people, and Jason mentioned the gurus. You always hear, oh, you've got to buy it 70% of ARV, less repairs. It's like, okay, good luck. I mean, we've all gotten deals that turned out, they penciled out that way in retrospect because they were better probably than we ever thought they'd end up being. But I don't know a lot of investors, I don't, who have this line in the sand. He said, this is how it has to be. For me, it's kind of like, well, it depends on how long I'm going to hold it, and the neighborhood, and all this other stuff. What's criteria? And I guess also, what kind of return are you targeting?
So I kind of do have a line in the sand a little bit. I'm very focused on ROI. And so kind of what Jason was saying earlier is I don't like quantity. I like to go after the quality of the house. So as long as I know, we can make, there's a 30, 40, 50% margin, I tend to go after those houses. And we do less houses per year, but then we have much bigger returns. So to me, I just, and I feel like it's a better quality of life. You just have a little bit more freedom too. So I've done the quantity thing and I got burned out. My other big thing is, I love Oakland, so I live here. This is my area of expertise. I grew up in Walnut Creek, so I know that area really well. And more recently, I've been focusing on areas like Hillsborough and the Peninsula. We currently have a project there now, so we're able to do, a project where we can add 2,000 square feet and add something fun, like we're adding a secret room where you pull a book and the shelf opens and it's like this awesome man cave type thing. Women can go there too, obviously. And it just, it's like wine cellar and cigar and all that. So we try to add this unique touch to our homes as well. So it's kind of something innovative and nice and new that people can kind of, enjoy in their home. But yeah, that's pretty much how I view homes when I critique them.
So for you, it's really about, it's not necessarily, it has to be this ARV, less repairs. It's really about, okay, if I pencil everything out, is my return what I want?
Yeah.
Have you done new construction?
No, we're mainly focused on like 2,000 square foot value add and things of that nature. We've partnered.
2,000 square foot addition?
Yeah.
You might as well build a new house.
I know. I know. I'm kind of like you. Like the numbers freak me out a little bit, and I should have jumped on it when I had a chance. But I probably. I mean, we're actually partnering on a new development right now. So if I.
Multi-unit development or?
RV park. Yeah, RV resort, I should say.
So, because I have a team, I gotta give them structure, even though the structure is not set in stone. We do start our offers at 70% minus repairs. Um, we do. I consider myself an opportunistic buyer. I'm gonna try to buy as low as I can. Um, you know, and then it's easier to go up than to start, you know, high and then try to work your way down. So we will do the 70% minus repairs. The team knows that I give them power to sign off on contracts that have basically that has a contingency period. So to give you an example, you know, there was this deal that one of my acquisition specialists said, Raul, I went outside of the norm because the deal still made sense, and you know the seller wasn't budging. We did whatever we could, and we wanted it to just get marketing dollars. So when I look at the deal, he did went outside the box. We still made, money. So we do start there. That doesn't mean that's where we draw the line on the sand. We will. We sometimes bought properties that you may think, how in the freaking heck you're gonna make money on them? But the thing is, I'm just going like literally in and out, or it's such a quick thing that the market won't affect because it's so fast.
So I actually have adjusted my formula for acquisition. I was basically deducting costs and then multiplying by 90%. And now it's more like 80% after deducting costs. So as an example, if it's $1 million ARV, I would take 7% off the top just to cover commission and closing costs. So now you're at 930. And then I would subtract my estimated rehab costs, which if it was under 1,500 square feet, I would put a 60,000. If it's 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, I would put 80,000. And it's rare that I'll rehab a house or buy a house that at the time I'm buying it is over 2,000 square feet. But if I did, I would just do case by case. So again, start with the ARV, multiply by 93%, subtract the rehab cost, and then I would multiply that by 90%. And I think now with the market a little bit softer, that's way too aggressive. So I've now adjusted that down to like 80% acquisition. I think there's still like a lot of great value opportunities right now, but I still think it's going to be a little while till sellers come back to earth, because for the last 7-8 years, every single seller, homeowner in the Bay Area has been told how hot the market is and how this agent sold their neighbor's house and got 14 offers and sold for 200,000 below. And that's why you're seeing a lot of price reductions now. I think because a lot of people are starting out a little bit too high. Even on MLS, you're seeing like about 1 in 4 are having a price reduction. Because what happened is somebody's neighbor listed for $999 and ended up selling last year for 1.2. Well, now the seller is taking from that, oh, let's sell for 1.2. Well, no, they sold for 1.2 in the hotter market and they started at $999. If you're starting now, listing at 1.2, you'll probably have to reduce your price. So I think, like 2010, 2011 was a great time to buy because sellers were told we're in a recession, but actually we were starting to recover in some parts of the Bay Area. Now, there's still going to be a little bit of time before sellers' expectations come down to earth, but meanwhile, we need to be conservative.
Thanks. Lisa?
So last year, I made the mistake of going after some deals where the margin is not big enough, so like 10% or so. So I learned a lot of, I learned from my mistakes, and I realized that, like Diana said, if you go after those deals where the margin's not enough, then you are subject to a lot of market risk, and it's just not worth it to do more volume versus quality. So I start to underwrite my deals very carefully and make sure that I look at the most recent comps, even comps that haven't closed yet, so that are pending, and I call the agents to see what price they're pending at. So those usually reflect the market price the best. And based on those numbers, I'm looking for at least a 15% return on all the money invested in the deal. And I'm only doing deals that are quick cosmetic flips. So projects I can turn around in 6 to 8 weeks.
So and you're staying, so that means you're staying in the footprint, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
just cosmetic flips.
Yeah, I know you've gotten more, I don't know if you say conservative or aggressive. You've gotten, I guess more aggressive in what you're willing to tolerate, like with your offers. It's like there was that one in Menlo Park that we both got pitched, and I ended up getting it. And I was thinking, oh my God, how much more did I offer than Elisa did? So I know she's just a stickler, just super aggressive. And I was so psyched to find out that we actually made the
We
same
had the
offer.
same price.
It's like, cool. No, I just started, just closed on it a few days ago.
Yeah, but I do, last year I wasn't aware, I wasn't conscious enough about how quick turnaround matters. So I actually offered a seller a 3 months rent back. And during the 3 months, the market was dropping and it was not a good experience. So this year I decided to really keep my flips as short as possible and not to be generous on the rent backs anymore. I'm trying to do like at most 1 month rent back. And that's why I lost that deal to Jeff.
And then I totally lucked out because I gave this crazy long rent back, which I really didn't want to do. But I thought, okay, there's a lot of margin here. I should still do fine, even if I end up being on the market in like August, which would suck. But then the guy's moving out after 3 weeks. I gave him this incentive, which I don't know how this floats people's boat, but it does, where, I said, okay, look, for every day of the 75 you don't use, I will pay you $300 for each day, which is just, it's a wash for me, it's my holding costs, right? And yet the guy who's getting paid $1.1 million for a house that, he owns free and clear is motivated to just fall all over himself for an extra few $1,000s. It's like, fantastic, it works for me. And the agents told me so many times, that was a great idea. He's really motivated to get the extra money. And I'm just thinking, okay, great, good for him.
And that was another good lesson I just learned from Jeff. So offer the seller an incentive so that they move out faster while you don't have to deal with the market risk. So you can do a shorter rent back that way.
Can I interject something real quick about rent backs? So rent backs still is like one of my favorite strategies, just because I've found that a lot of times, like if you think about it, why is somebody willing to sell to us off market when, especially in like the last few years, they know if they can read, they pretty much know that they can list it with an agent, or at least they think they know that they can list it with an agent, it'll sell in a weekend, it'll sell with multiple offers, it'll probably be a cash buyer. At least that's been the perception, right? But they're still willing to sell to us at a discount and not have multiple people compete for their house and get more money for it at the end of the day. And I think one of the reasons, at least that I've found, is that I'm willing to offer a rent back. Now, you have to be I agree with everything that was said here by both Elisa and Jeff. You have to be very judicious in how you utilize that rent back. But my first ever deal where I made $500,000, I mentioned this earlier, was I gave her a 1 year absolutely free rent back. And I think most investors would not have done that. And if I had not given her that 1 year free rent back, I would not have gotten the deal. And that was a deal I literally sold like 5 days later for $500,000 more. But the reason was that was a unique property. You saw it, Lisa. That was a unique property that was being sold to a builder. And that builder, in a very high-end area in Palo Alto, and that builder would have needed at least a minimum of 6 months to get their plans and permits drawn. So the fact that there's a 94-year-old lady living there while they're doing that is not that big of an inconvenience. Plus, there's a 7-figure upside for them. They ended up making $2 million on the house. But you got to do it case by case and city by city. You have cities here like San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland, and the number is growing where there's such strong tenant protection laws that it's very hard to get people out. And when you do that, you want to be very careful with giving rent backs. You want to make sure you're holding back enough of a deposit. There's some kind of daily penalty or reverse of a penalty, like a bonus for moving out early. Just be judicious and use it. But I would encourage you to try to use it when you can, because it can make literally the difference between getting a deal, which can turn out to be a great deal, and not getting the deal because of that rent back. Because that person who's lived in their house for 20, 30, 40 years is usually not ready to move out within a month. They might want their money, they might want to find a place, they might want to know the deal is done, but they might need a month or two or more to actually get all their affairs in order, pack, move, and so on.
Yeah, more often than not, that whole fast, I can close fast all cash. Most of my sellers do not want to close fast. That's not a selling point at all. Like Jason, you were saying, they're not upside down, they're not desperate. They just kind of want easy, they want to sell on their terms, and usually that involves them being allowed to take their time and close when they feel like closing. And often they want to get paid first and then have time.
But if it's a great deal, I want to close fast because I want to make sure the deal is mine.
Yeah, totally.
But then I can close fast, have title in my name because I know this house is worth $2 million,
Yeah.
and I got it for, let's say, 1.5. But I close fast, but they don't have to.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, you can still close fast, but make sure you don't need them out. They don't think you need them out fast. Earl, do you have something you wanted to add before? You forgot? Okay.
A lot of sellers, like Jason and Jeff said, that they want some more time to move out of the property, but there are cases that where they want to close quickly and just to get rid of the property, especially if it's an inheritance. Nobody's living in the house, it's been vacant for some time, and the seller wants to sell the property so the siblings can split the money right away. And there's divorce situations. I got a house where the husband and the wife were fighting so bad, and the court ordered them to move out of the house within a week, and they wanted to not have to deal with each other anymore. So we actually closed in a week, and they got the money, and they were pretty happy.
So actually, Lisa, I've got a question directed to you first. Towards new people who are thinking, yeah, I want to get into this, they're here as part of their building their knowledge base, read a lot of books maybe, hit the meetup circuit, and you are the closest person here to being new, so it's fresh in your mind, and you made the plunge. What advice do you have for new people? How do you get into this?
Take massive action. So I think a lot of new investors give up because they take some action and then they don't see any results because the action is not enough. And then they gave up and they think it doesn't work. But what I did was I take massive action. So when I was starting out, I tried to build my agent network. I was still working a full-time job, so almost every day, I would lock myself in a conference room and just call agents for a couple of hours. My job gave me the flexibility, luckily, and I was able to build my agent network really quickly, the hundreds of agents. after a couple of months, I got my first deal. So because I was able to see the results quickly from the massive action I took, so I got hooked, and I didn't have to give up midway through. So I think take massive action could really help you see results fast and help you to stick to it.
Nice. Good answer.
Can I add one word? I love what you said. I just want to add one word because this has actually been a slogan of mine. Consistent and massive action. Consistent and massive action. And because I wholesaled the property to somebody years ago, and they said, so Jason, it seems like you get a lot of deals. And I said, I don't know, I get some here and there. How do you do it? I said, well, I do different things, like direct mail. She said, really? You do direct mail? That works for you? I said, yeah. She said, wow, I sent 100 letters last month and I didn't get anything. I sent 100 letters. I'm sending 5,000 letters a month, which since then has gone up. I'm sending 5,000 letters a month and sometimes I get anything. And she was expecting that from 100 letters that she would get a deal. You'd be lucky to even get a call from 100 letters. And so the massive part is you could do 10,000 letters once and that's it. Or you could, and consistent, you could do 100 letters every month. No, it's got to be, Raul, how much are you sending every month? How many letters?
10,000 a week.
A week. He's sending 10,000 mailers every week consistently, right?
For the past 2 years.
10,000 every week consistently, though.
Yes, sir.
So that's massive and consistent. But do like him, not like me.
Yeah, massive and consistent is definitely key. So how about, this is something we've all talked about. I think I've had conversations with all of you about this. The market. Market seems to be changing. Now, I've had conversations with some people about this for 2 years, and I guess it didn't change really. But now it really kind of seems like something may be changing. So how your strategy's changing? Jason, you mentioned you're kind of being a little more strict on how you're buying. What about you, Diana?
Yeah, we've definitely gotten a little bit more conservative. I think it's easy for people to get very emotional when they hear everything and see everything. I'm a big data person, so I'm always like, look at the numbers. And so, when people start getting on the ledge, I said, just look at the numbers. And if you look at the data right now, it's not showing these like massive, shifts that everyone's been talking about. I mean, the 2 million market took a 3.9% hit. 3.9 in 2 million, I mean, that's roughly 80 grand. At the end of the day, it's not a huge hit to your ARV or your sales price. So, I think look at the data and just be careful of I think people are seeing maybe 20% hits when they're selling is because they bought too high to begin with. So I think you just have to be really cautious when you're purchasing your home, purchasing a property to rehab. Just make sure that when you buy the house, you're making money. And I think all of us have, given you guys some pretty good advice on how to do that. But yeah, just be really weary of buying high, because that's how unfortunately, I've met a few new investors, and that's how they got burned, is they just bought really high thinking the market was going to go up and they were going to regain the ROI in the next 6 to 8 months, and that's not what happened. So yeah, our approach has just been far more conservative.
I will say you gotta be disciplined on understanding your souls pending and active, because the souls tells you a story of the past, pendings tell you a story of the present, and the actives tells you a story of the future. So one of the things that we do at the office before we even close on a deal, we have become stricter at how we actually analyze the deal. And what I mean by that is, I asked the team, I said, on every deal, I want to know how many active, pending, and how many sold, pending, and active for a quarter mile, half a mile, and 1 mile, because I want to know what is the story of every category. And then I look at the active to pending ratio. We developed this system that, one of the meetup members, we kind of got together. He's an engineer, and I told him, Mr. Joe Metz, told me, got me introducing to that, but we had to do it manually. He was putting his assistant to every day go to the MLS and do the active to pending for this county, this county, this county. And then what we decided is like, you know what, I'm not a programmer, but I'm gonna see who in the room is a programmer. And I told him, listen, can you build us this? He built it. Now we have it like on a city basis. Why is that important? Is because it has saved me last year. And this we just I started it last year with Mr. Joe, right around about the middle of the year, or slightly before, and we noticed a trend. We noticed a trend, and there is definitely, to me, there is markets. There are markets that are changing, like Santa Clara being one of them. There is a change. Oftentimes we rely too freaking much on the souls that we take it as, oh, this is it. On a changing market, you also gotta see the actives, because if the souls are higher and the actives are lower, that's telling you a story. And I can prove it because we sold a property to a hedge fund. That the hedge fund, I'm pretty sure, it's nothing to them, but it's a massive hedge fund out of LA. Sold them a house at $855,000. The souls showed that the house was able to sell for $1.1 million. But see, the problem is people only look at the souls. They never look at the actives. Bought it for $855,000. They probably put about $60,000-$70,000 into it. Put it on the market for $1 million. Sat there for several, and granted, this is at the time where the market is shifting. I could see it. I could loud it. I mean, on the active to pending ratio, showed me, gave me the story. I did all the numbers, and I'm like, this is changing. This is changing. So I said, I'm not going to remodel it. I'm just going to sell it. Sold it. They put it on the market, didn't sell, dropped it, didn't sell, dropped it, didn't sell, dropped it, and then they sold it for $850.
That's it, too.
Santa Clara. South San Jose. Now, if it wasn't because of how disciplined we got into, I want to know the sold, but I don't. Especially in these markets, I don't rely on sales. I rely on active to pending ratio, and if the actives are lower than my sold, then I know I gotta plan more for that side. And I guess it's just being ultra conservative.
So let's see, how much time do we have? 5 minutes?
You got
Something?
9 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Oh, talk about in this shifting market, I really like entry-level homes in good locations. So by entry-level homes, I mean homes that are at or below the median sale price in an area. Those homes, especially if they're in good locations, such as good school districts, or if they're close to job opportunities, those homes are there's always a demand for the cheaper houses, for new buyers, for first-time home buyers. And in a down market, more people are qualified for the cheaper homes than the high-end homes, more expensive homes. So that's one thing I'm focused on. Another thing is, like Diana said, I'm being conservative with my numbers, and I try to figure out what's the worst case scenario is with my flips. If I'm trying to hold this property, or if I'm trying to finish a rehab in a month or two, then how bad could the market get within a month or two? It could be 10%. Probably not going to be more than 15%. So when I underwrite my deals, I take that into account so that even if the worst case scenario happens, I can at least still break even.
Right, I like the strategies. So we don't have much time left. I just want to kind of go around the horn real quick. If there's any just nugget little pearl of wisdom, something, maybe it's come up already, but it's so important you want to just say, yeah, this is big, I want to reiterate it. Ideally, something that hasn't come out that you just think, here's one thing, one little gem that people should know who are either, whether they're trying to get into the business, they're in the business now, like one key to success that you think people should know.
Bring a portable heater next time. I don't know, I think we went over a lot of it. It might come to me, but I'll let these guys go ahead.
To me, it would be that whatever you do, make sure that you have a purpose. Otherwise, you will quit too soon.
So I think at the end of the day, like, your business is just a part of your life, right? So it could be a big part of your life or a medium part of your life. It's probably not a small part of your life. So I would kind of work backwards with what kind of lifestyle you want to have, because there are all kinds of real estate investors and all kinds of ways to do real estate. You can be a passive investor. You can be a very active investor. You can be a one-man show like Jeff and me, or you can be like Raul and have a whole team. But that creates more opportunity in a way, but also creates more accountability. It's just like when people ask me, do you want to be an agent, or should I be an agent, or should I be an investor? A lot of it depends on your personality. Do you want to go to the office and hang out by the water cooler and gossip with people? Are you into customer service? I know that I'm not. I would hate to be a realtor and show houses to people and have to be nice to them. I'd much rather, if somebody tells me F you, be able to say F you too. Well, you can't do that if you're an agent, right? So it's like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have? And then you can build. The beauty of this business is you can build the kind of business to suit your lifestyle. Maybe you don't want to chase deals. Maybe you're really into building. So you can do one deal a year, as I mentioned earlier, for those that were in the breakout session. You can do one new luxury home a year. And on average, for the last 10, 15 years, if you did that in the right place, you would have made $1 million per house. When things were really good, you would have made $2 million, and I know that because we've done that. I'm not saying that to brag, but I've seen it. We've made $1 million several times. We've made $2 million in one house. Somebody told me I bought just before the recession hit, so I sold in the recession, and I only made $300,000 on a new construction. That's still pretty good. She still made $300,000 building a house if you know what you're doing. Or you can be the kind of person that really loves the chase of the deals, and you can build a wholesaling business or a flipping business like that. You can love houses and do, additions. You can just want cash flow, and you can do notes, or you can do rentals or lease options, or all these different things. So I would say, look at what kind of lifestyle you want to have and what you enjoy most and what you maybe dislike most about real estate. Do you like houses? Do you like people? Do you not like either one? Whatever, and put together the kind of business, the kind of real estate business that suits the lifestyle that you want to have.
Can I add just one quick thing? One quick thing. My other best advice is pick one area and dominate that area until you become successful. Don't do TICs and then, multifamily and then house flipping. Pick one area, dominate that, and then move on if you want. Because I've seen a lot of people trying to do a lot of things, and all of a sudden you don't master one.
Yeah, focus. It's easy to get shiny object syndrome in this business because there are a lot of really cool shiny objects. Lisa.
To new investors, find a mentor. That's how I got started. I have a really good mentor who partnered with me on my first deal, where I learned a ton. And after that, I was able to do deals on my own. But that first deal was crucial.
Did anything come to you?
All right, so I know I've been harping about being conservative, but I will say sometimes being too conservative has cost me deals. So, just find the right balance. I'm a big believer in it starts with the deal. And so, just make sure you're not overpaying. And like these guys were saying earlier, like some of them do mailers, some of them do social media, some of us are working with agents. just find a path that works for you and follow it.
Thanks. So I think we're gonna wrap here. Everybody, y'all are sticking around for a little bit, yeah? Okay, cool. So help me thank our panel. They're great. Come and chat with people.
So thank you so much. Please give a big round of applause for our panel on Fix and Flip. And then also coming up next, we actually have women in real estate. We have Deanna, Brenda, Elise, and also our moderator, Liz, will be up here starting shortly.